When I was 25, I put myself on a consistent reading routine. And over the past couple years, I have managed to read a decent amount of books. But what I noticed is that at a certain point, I started to want to be viewed as a knowledgeable person or a person that had something intelligent to say. So what would happen is in conversation, I would intentionally try to implant big words or try to appear smarter. And I'm sure a lot of people fall into this because now the way that I viewed myself was as this person with knowledge. And I think in the same way, this happens with the body as well. So after a certain point, you are viewed as this person who has a certain level of physique. So you either have to maintain that or get better. So in my mind, or in a lot of people's minds, they'll have this image of who they want to be, right? In terms of body or in terms of intelligence. And then they'll still look at their body or they'll analyze a conversation and they'll say, yeah, that wasn't up to par. And I think this is what happens with body dysmorphia. So it's basically you have an expectation about how you want your body to look. And then you look in the mirror and then you get disappointed. And you know that it's getting to that place, like that ideal physique, or there is no ideal conversation that you could have where you could be like, yeah, I was on point, I was in flow, I'm sure you could, but your brain's automatically going to go to self-criticism, right? So there's this quote I thought of, which was, think lightly of yourself, but think very seriously of your action. So if you're going to the gym, if you're reading, put all your effort into that action, but then don't identify with it afterwards. Because it's kind of funny, because when I first started lifting, I had this view that my physique was so much better than it really was. And now, all these years later, it's the exact opposite. Like, I have this idealized version of myself that I want to look like, and I'm like postponing content, right? I'm trying to make content now, but I'm like postponing content, saying just a little bit longer, a couple more weeks till I'm shredded. I got an 8-pack, and all this time I could have just been posting. I could have just been creating. So then the question arises, is it bad for you to have an idealized version of your physique? No, I don't necessarily think so, because you still need a goal in mind to work towards. I think part of the issue is that we go on social media, and if you are in the fitness space, then you're constantly going to be viewing insane physiques, insane levels of strength, and then you're also going to be comparing your own physique to those levels and your strength to those levels, which may disappoint you even more than just your own, the own version of yourself that you want to be. So yes, you could say you can do the exact opposite, right? and go into Walmart and be like, okay, everyone here is pretty average. But that, at the same time, that is kind of a cop-out, because you're just shitting on everybody else around you, right? You're just like, oh, like, I can feel good about myself because these people look like shit. And that's kind of fucked up too. So the proper approach, I would say, is to just dial in and completely focus on getting to your goal, but then completely detach yourself from the result. I've been reading a lot of Hindu philosophy lately. I'm reading Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramhansa Yogananda, and also I'm reading the Bhagavad Gita, which explains this very concept, and it says not to be attached to the fruit of your action. So the disappointment that you feel is because you're attached to the results of your action. But if you're fully focused on the action itself, then there's literally nothing else you could do to affect the result. So what this does is remove any importance to the expectation you had of what your physique should look like, because you put your full effort and you gave it your all. And if that's really true, if you know that to be true, then there's no reason to be disappointed, right? I mean, if you're still disappointed, you're living in a reality where you want the level of physique that somebody else has, but you are not that person. You can imagine yourself having their type of physique, but everybody has different bodies. Everybody has different structures. Everybody starts at different weights. So really, that's just a fruitless activity. And I think as long as you keep this in mind, then you won't have body dysmorphia.